I got like
Oh, yeah.
fish, but I didn't have a way of like cooking my fish, so I was like just sitting here with all this raw fish in my hands. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this in the
Just
day?
eat them sashimi
Make
style.
sashimi.
Sashimi. Yeah, I
Yeah,
tried that
see?
and I think I got sick.
Because it's Next Fest.
It is. It is indeed Next Fest, or I guess I should say
Wow.
that we just had Next Fest. We just had Next
basically.
Fest summer 2024, and we played a good number of demos. Klayton, how many demos, just ballpark, do you think you've played for Next Fest?
I'm going to be honest. This Next Fest, I actually played less demos than I did when we talked about February's Steam Next Fest.
Really?
So I played about 12 games.
I logged in 12 myself.
I played like 6.
And Alex played about 6. My original plan was to play like 6. But then I had a little bit of time, and so I started going through some other stuff that I had. Basically just stuff that was on my wish list already.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, there's demos for things I already thought were going to be interesting. I'll just try those. and a couple others that came along. Yeah, a couple others that came along in the meantime.
My aim was to try to hit 20 to 30 like I did last time, and then just keep the ones that I really enjoyed as uploads.
Yeah.
And the batch that I got, and when I say got, is, I always put the call outs on social media of looking for games, tagging in them more.
Yeah.
The ones I got were some interesting choices this time around.
Yeah, I try to play a fairly good variety of different genres, so that I'm trying out some things in a lot of different ones that might interest me. Overall, I wasn't as impressed with some of the ones that I played that I thought I was gonna. I didn't like them as much as I thought I was, and then I did get surprised by one or two, so that was good.
There were
Same
definitely
here.
a couple I tried to. One, for instance, just had a weird control scheme that was meant for, I think Klayton and I had talked about this before. One of them was like, it was set up for controllers, but it had keyboard and mouse support, but it was really wonky.
Mm.
And then another one that I tried was full keyboard, but utilized the arrow keys. And I was like, what was this decision?
That's definitely odd. I would say, before we all get into the game that we really played, the strangest one that I played was called Push the Cat with WASD. It's basically a puzzle game where there's just text on the screen.
Yeah.
And you use the WASD keys to move the cat, or to move the letters, to move the cat into the goal.
Okay. Great.
It's definitely interesting, and I love puzzles.
Yeah.
But this one was too much for my brain. Too much puzzle. Too much thinking involved. And the second one, which I don't know how you two feel about mobile games, but this Steam game, I found out is also on mobile. And I've played it more on mobile than I actually have played it on Steam. And it's called Teeny Tiny Town. And it's basically a merge game, but it's cute.
Oh,
And
okay.
It's an absolute time killer. That's what it is.
I don't do mobile games.
What was the one, though, that you really wanted to highlight for us tonight?
I actually have two. The second one is a little bit more weird. But the one that I want to talk about the most is that we all know Deep Rock Galactic.
Yep.
And games with mining and exploration.
And dwarves.
Well, this game is called Drill Core, and it is a strategy colony sim exploration roguelike game. So it's got all these unique elements in them. The description on their Steam page says, corporate greed meets strategic planet mining in Drill Core. You're drilling to the heart of planets while managing workers, researching cutting-edge tech, and fortifying your platform against alien attacks. So you have to figure out your balance of fortifying your defenses, because you get attacked every wave, every time night happens in this underground cavern.
Sure.
To mining resources down below you.
Midnight Acres all over again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and management games like that, I'm not the greatest in. Managing your workers, trying to keep them alive, like you don't starve. Not you don't starve, like your oxygen is not included in games like that.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at those kind of games. But roguelikes, I'm decent at.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically, the game is you have a platform, and you put up buildings in that platform that you have access to based on the resources that you gather in the mines below.
Oh yeah,
and you can build more workers. So like, let's say like the barracks, right? You build one barracks, your workers all come out of that. The more barracks you build, the faster they build. The shorter the queue time is for them. The same is for other structures. And then along the walls, above your platform, you build your defenses, your turrets, your launchers, your anti-alien structures.
Sure.
So it's almost like a Space Invader-esque kind of.
Oh,
And
okay.
then some buildings you build gives you unique abilities, such as one can freeze enemies in place for X amount of seconds.
Oh, okay.
There's another one where if you drop it on top of your weapons, they fire exponentially faster for X amount of seconds.
Space Invaders plus like dig down bully for resources. I have watched someone else do a gameplay. This is pre-Next Fest. Someone that did videos, I had seen it getting played, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept.
As someone who's played a lot of Deep Rock Galactic, up to 4-player, and Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is the top-down roguelike, I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would.
What is your kind of like general gameplay loop that they get you into? Is it doing like your mining and then you do your colony defense piece, and do you go back and forth, or do you kind of do them all at the same time?
So the way the day-night cycle in this game works is when your workers wake up, you can go down into the mines below. Your drillers will drill. You have 3 different types of units that I've unlocked so far, or that I've played with so far. I don't know if there's more beyond that. But there's your drillers, who will go out and mine wherever you click on the tiles. There's another unit that picks up everything that the miners dig out. So if you dig up resources, they'll go down into the mines, pick it up, bring it back to the base.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's your guards, who will go down there and kill aliens should they happen to spawn in there, which they do from the rocks in that area. So if you don't mine out the rocks, it'll spawn an alien. And there's audio cues, there's visual cues that'll let you know. And then when the night cycle comes, you send all your units home, because it gets a lot more dangerous in the mines at night. But then aliens come down from above. So your defenses that you set up on the side are to protect your core. If the core is destroyed, you lose.
The demo itself, does it have much in way of like time limits or anything? Like how much time were you able to actually spend with it?
The first run that I didn't do very well. The second run I did a lot better. So I definitely got better the longer it progressed.
Mm-hmm.
And once I figured out, oh, okay, I should employ this strategy to this strategy. Because it doesn't do a lot of hand-holding, which I do enjoy in a game. Like, they don't, the tutorial thing is like, oh, you have to do this whole tutorial, and this is how everything goes, and, you kind of just want to jump in the action. There's a little bit of a tutorial, but it does, for the most part, let you jump into the action right away. Okay. Which is pleasantly surprising for a demo. And also it makes sense for a roguelike, because that's kind of how you learn in games like this. You learn through trial and error. You learn through dying. Maybe I should have done this way instead.
That is the one thing about roguelikes that you just kind of have to accept on the outset.
Yeah, and you can employ different strategies. You're like, maybe I want to be more about the mining and less about defense.
Sure.
Well, we know how this is going to work in the end. Or you can prioritize more defense over your mining ability.
Absolutely.
But for this game, it's definitely more about trying to find that balance for the most part, but tilting the scale on one way over the other a little bit.
If it's a roguelike, is there a point where basically you run ends because the aliens overtake you and then you die and then you have to start over again? Okay.
Yes, so each day-night cycle, the alien waves that come down is going to be more intense.
When you do die, are there like permanent upgrades? Like, is it a roguelite so that there are some things that you are able to use that come across in the next wave? Or is it like a pure roguelike where no such luck? You start from scratch every single time? Sometimes what they will do is they will allow you to unlock new options that might occur as random things in the dungeons, like new guns and stuff that will actually show up.
Right.
But not necessarily permanent upgrades. I played one called Wall World that I liked a lot, and that also had the idea of mining and then using what you mine to upgrade your little wall crawler so that you can fight off like alien waves and invasions. And that did have a whole permanent upgrade system where you come across blueprints, and then when you come across the blueprints and unlock those, you can then, when you die, and you go back out to the regular world, you can actually use some of like your premium currency in order to unlock those so that you're just better at stuff when you go back in.
Actually, there is upgrades in the main menu.
Haha.
So, yeah, you
There
do
you go.
have that.
So it's roguelike.
Light.
Yeah.
I prefer those, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know
Let
if I
me
mentioned
have
this
some
yet.
progression.
It does not have a release date. It has.
Oh, okay.
It just says to be announced on the Steam page. About 100,000 players, it looks like, during
Wow.
the next fest, and their playtest. I'm guessing they might have had a playtest prior to next fest.
Sure.
On Steam, they posted a notice 3 days ago, on the 18th. For those who are watching this in the future, that they had a monumental of 100,000 players, and that their
sure.
demo was the most played during the event.
Was
I
it?
blame people who make videos also for some of that. Like, I think Real Civil Engineer played it. So, like, people, when they push them out to those big YouTubers to do videos, they kind of get a lot of views.
Yeah.
Yep. And then a lot of people were like, I want to try this game out for myself.
Would you say that was your favorite game from the Next Fest?
Honestly, I think so. I enjoy games that involve mining resources. I like shiny rocks in real life. So.
And you said that there was one other one that you wanted to talk about, and you are the guest, so I can allow you to. It's fine.
Yes, this
I
was.
appreciate it. We all fell in love with the game Power World, and it's kind of fallen off a little bit. It's had an update. It has a raid that's out, but that's not what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about a game that's kind of in that vein. This game is basically Stardew Valley meets Pokemon, and
Okay.
it is called Ova Magica.
Okay.
It is a wholesome JRPG farming game that's inspired by the classics, as it says on its Steam page. There are no pals in this game. There are no Pokemon in this game. There are no Digimon in this game.
Well, that's good.
The creatures that you have are
Mm.
blobs.
Love me some blobs.
Yes.
They're all
They're
they're
not
all
slimes.
Okay.
They're blobs.
They're
And the blobs have
blobs.
different elements. They have different looks to them. The looks of them are kind of cool and kind of cute,
Sure.
especially when you go through the demo video and through
Oh,
their postings that they've made. This game's coming out. So it says July 23rd, 2024.
Okay.
In about 4 weeks. But it's a life sim. It's got fishing. It's got crafting. Build up your little farm. Train your blobs. You can battle other people. What's also really cool that I saw, your blobs, I don't know how many you can use at once, but you can have them work on your farm apparently.
Ooh.
So if you have like a water-based blob, you can have that water your plants for you.
Oh,
So you
cool.
don't have to do it.
Okay, yeah, so it's taking those Power World vibes.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's a bunch of bachelor and bachelorettes, so you got your Stardew in there.
You gotta have your waifus and your husbandus. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They have the battle system, which is like your Pokemon. There's expeditions. So you don't necessarily have to just live the farm life, apparently. If
Oh.
you want to go out and explore dungeons and explore the world, you can absolutely do that too.
Sure. Is
And
the...
there's also a breeding system.
Oh, of course. You
With
gotta
your
have-
waifu?
No, with your blobs. Oh,
Blobs.
Okay, just
great.
check.
Okay, you know what?
Blob
I just want to
breeding.
clarify something. You are not breeding with your blobs. Your blobs are breeding with each other.
Oh, okay.
All
I'm
right, I'm
glad
just
that we
making sure.
clarified this. We
Okay,
clarified
you
we're
said
about
this.
to get into
JRPG.
we're about to get into some territory.
Oh, okay, exactly.
Listen,
well,
you said
you know,
JRPG, and I got concerned when you said breeding.
There's a blob league. There's activities in this game.
There's
So
a blob league. Is
yeah,
there a
like
blob
a Pokemon
card game?
League.
Is there a blob card game that you can play as in the tavern?
if this game gets popular enough, I
Yeah.
would not be surprised if I saw in the future
Oh man,
an Ova Magica card game.
that
like
would be great. Is the combat turn-based or is it real time?
No, it's turn based.
It's turn.
It's not real time. It's like your Pokemon.
Okay, okay. They're taking classic Pokemon. Okay,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because I only did like one battle in there.
so it's like boy and his blob, but starts a farm. Boy, yeah, that's fun.
Or female,
Yeah, girl
depending
and
on
your
what you pick
blob.
in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because like I said, it's bachelor and bachelorettes.
sure.
The art style is very cute. It was hard for me to try to pin down like what the art style in this game reminded me of.
Mm,
And I still really can't. I think the closest thing that I can get to is maybe like the Dragon Quest style in terms of the environment, not like the characters. 'Cause the characters in Dragon Quest remind me a lot of Dragon Ball. The strangest thing about this demo are the way the characters in the game stand.
Oh, okay.
When you see it, you're fully gonna understand. Like, they don't stand up straight. The way they stand is like they stand with their knees bent a little bit, and like their booty sticking out in a sense. It's almost like they're gonna try and perform a squat.
Perfect.
It is the strangest thing.
Nice.
I'll work on that rigging, I guess.
Yeah. But other than that, I thought the game was a lot of fun. Definitely something that I'm probably gonna pick up. I do enjoy games like this. I'm more than likely gonna pick up this game when it comes out in 4 weeks. Like,
cool.
Steam says it's similar to games I played, like Stardew Valley and Moonstone Island, combined over 200 hours between both games.
Nice. Excellent. I know the feeling.
I'm curious because, like, if you can play it just as like a Pokemon game, that is interesting to me because I never liked the Stardew formula a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I know Nathan's put hundreds of hours into Stardew. Like, I've put over 400 hours into Pokemon Omega Ruby.
Alex.
Hello.
Yeah, out of the 6 games that you played, did you have one that you'd like to talk to a little bit about?
Yeah. So I know both of you have also played this game, so I'm not going to take up too much time talking about it. But the game I wanted to talk about was, I believe it's probably, I'm going to say that I think it's pronounced Aska because it's Vikings and Aska sounds weird to me. But unless they give me a pronunciation guide or some sort of
Upper Litz class or something?
Some kind of grammar marking, I'm going to pronounce it however the hell I want. But anyways, since you guys have both played it, this is mostly for anyone listening who didn't play it. Aska is a Valheim clone. I'm going to say it right out the gate. It's very liberally taking from the formula and feeling of Valheim. But what I found interesting about the game was I thought the visuals were a lot nicer than Valheim's personally. Very pretty. It was really, the world generation, everything was gorgeous. Klayton had said earlier it reminded him more of a New World Valheim mix.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
and
it did.
I would say, yeah, I get that. The visuals from the style of New World, where the world is very pretty.
And it feels alive around you. Like, in this game, you can hear the creatures around you. You can hear stuff in the distance.
I didn't check to see if you could swim.
Did either of you
check?
You
can?
You can.
Instantly better than New World already.
Yeah, you can swim.
Still can't swim in New World.
Yeah.
I didn't check that. I didn't think to check that.
I did. There was a little spot, like a little cove or something, and I was like, oh, what if you could swim in this game? You know, and I went through the water at night, and it was like, you're really cold now. And I was like, of course I am. I swam in the water at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I liked about it was that you had skills that you could gain, although I know the game is now in early access, and I hope that there's either some way you can customize your character aside from looks when you make them, because they have stats. Either customize them at build or give us a little bit more information about our skills that we've gained, because it's like you have wood cutting 7, and it doesn't give you any information on what that does for you. Like, does this increase the damage I do to trees, the speed I can do it, the stamina reduction? So I'd like to see a little bit more clarity in some of it. What I liked about it was that instead of like Valheim, where you're kind of building your structures piece by piece, it was like, hey, I'm going to put a shelter down. I'm going to build this building and upgrade this building. And it's collect the parts, put them in the building, and then build it. And then if you need to do a stage 2, you do that kind of deal. As opposed to trying to freeform build creatively.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a lot nicer.
Sure.
It's like, how do I make this work? It's fine if they add that in too, but I liked that it let me kind of go, okay, I just want this building that has this purpose already baked into it.
The building is like that because it's kind of like a colony sim too.
Yeah.
Because you can have villagers come in and take up, space and stuff, and they can do work.
Yes.
So I understand what you mean, and
that.
I found like the build system a little weird. I mean, I only
Can
played
be.
it for like an hour, so it's like I haven't really dug into the meat of it. But at first glance, yeah, the build system seems a
I
bit odd.
think I played for like maybe 6 hours or so.
Sure, that sounds about right. I probably played for like 4 or 5, maybe 4 or 5.
So I
yeah.
think the cool thing with that is you can upgrade the buildings too. Like even the
Even your
basic
fire.
campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can then make it a bigger fire and then put a rain cover over it and then add a barbecue to it
Yeah,
Right.
so that
I think,
it's got more functionality.
and I think that was really good on them to do that, because you're not being like, oh, I have to place this upgraded campfire, so I got to destroy my old one so I can put in the improved one. They
Yeah.
did it to where you can actually upgrade your settlement and things around you. And like he said,
Yeah.
you want to put a thing over your fire so it stays protected, or you want to put like some twigs and some branches over it so you can be like, you can skewer stuff.
Mhm.
And the same way with the shelters. You have your basic shelters, you put a top, you make it bigger. I really
Yeah.
like that in a game, and I'm glad that they did that in this.
One of the other things I really liked was that you can get colonists. You can get you're rebuilding your clan or your village. So you can have these people with their own sets of skills come in and do work for you, which is really cool. I don't know if you got to a lot of that, Klayton. I know, Nathan, you said you played probably several hours, so you probably did get some of that.
I've gotten a couple people working for me. Yeah.
So
which-
how does that work? Because I actually didn't, because I think it was,
Sure.
you can start getting attacked by enemies if you do that, and I was like, I don't know if I want to experience that yet.
Yeah.
I think you get attacked regardless. I mean, I feel like I was getting attacked before I had anybody even in my colony.
I didn't. I only had like that beach creature. I mean, I explored the island, and like I found this one creature in an area who chased me down, who was big and purple.
Sure.
But he didn't chase me. He didn't chase me forever.
Grimace.
Once I got far enough, he just
Yeah. You gotta do
screwed off
something
and went
about
back to wherever he was going.
The enemy variety was a little lacking, at least for me, on the outset. I liked the enemy design, except for the zombies kind of just looked like zombies. But the little like wisp characters that look like the little twig wisps and stuff. I mean, I thought that was kind of cool. Like they were trying to lean into the lore and the mythos. As far as the colonists go, it was kind of interesting. You do is it the Eye of Odin? I want to say it is.
The Eye of Jotun.
Jotun, sorry. The Eye of Jotun. And
Jotun or Jotun, or however it's pronounced.
Jotunheim, maybe it's Jotun.
Yeah,
But-
Jotunheim, I
Could be.
think.
Yeah.
Jotun. It could be.
But at any rate, so you're basically collecting these little gems because there's, certain rocks around the world that you can harvest them from. And you collect enough of them, you get 5 in a row, you can put them on into there, and then you get a choice of 2 different villagers that you can ask to come to your place. And then there's a timer after you do that, and you have to wait, I think, 10 minutes, and then they show up on your door. And they have
Basically, you summon them in.
Yeah, and then they have certain benefits, and then they have certain cons that are put on them. Like some of them eat more, or they're not very effective in certain weather conditions. But maybe they're really good at harvesting wood, or they're really good at working in the workshop or whatever it is.
And you can pick between 2 villagers, you said?
2.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean, the only thing I can compare it to, which is a game I'm absolutely terrible at, but I love Clay games, is auctions are not included.
Oh,
You get your dupe, you get your dupes. They have their pros and their cons and their qualities, and you gotta like figure out what you really want out of it. And you're like, oh, this dude's kind of a glutton, but
yeah.
he's really good at blacksmithing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar to that concept, where these guys will come in, and it'll show you like 2 of the traits they have, and then 3 more will be like,
Oh, unlockable.
Oh, so it's a surprise
I don't know if they're
once you
unlockable,
accept them.
but they're definitely a
We don't know
surprise.
what
I
they
don't
are.
think that you need to unlock them, but you don't get to see them beforehand. So it's like you're taking a gamble, but like it's okay.
I would say that
It's
makes
fine.
the game more interesting
Sure.
It does,
in a
definitely.
sense, because you're just like, it's a crapshoot.
So when you get your colonists, you can assign them to different buildings. For instance, you can give them a home, a shelter. You can assign them to like, I had one guy, I was like, yeah, you're gonna go do wood stuff. You're gonna go collect wood. So you set them to the forestry or whatever, the woodcutters. They will go out in the radius of it. They will chop trees, collect twigs, collect all the wood materials. Even if you chop down a tree, they'll go out and collect it, bring it back to the building, which then works as a storehouse for all of those materials.
Mhm.
Oh, that's nice.
And when you upgrade the building, because I did try that one to see what would happen when I upgrade the woodcutters one, it increases the storage and lets you store more material of different, like, additional material. Like, I think that lets you then store, like, resin as well.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, cool. That's interesting, because I basically set a guy to go work at that for a while. And then once it was full, I was like, cool, go do something else. I don't need any more of this. Like, if you can take them off their assignment to that and they'll just build. They'll just do building stuff. Or you can set them to, like, gather a site and they'll just go out and gather.
Yeah.
When it comes to woodcutting, I actually have a question because you two played longer than I have. Is it like Valheim? If it falls and hits you or your NPC, will you take damage?
I don't think so.
I did not find
No,
anywhere
that-
they fell on me and killed me, so
No.
I'm okay with that.
I might give the demo another spin and try to see if I can get conked on the head by a tree that's falling.
I
Yeah.
don't think you can.
I think it pretty much just collapses down wherever it is and then just splits into the actual resources. There are different grades of trees, which is important. So your like starter axe can't actually cut down trees that
Like
are
the
of
big, thick
hardwoods, like hardwoods and stuff, and then you can get a
But-
big axe where you can do some
Yeah,
more.
it,
but
it
not
gives
all.
you those New World vibes you were talking about, where you have to upgrade your axe to be able to do it,
Yeah, exactly.
which is fine.
I mean, it's understandable.
fine.
We've had that in a lot of farming sim type games. You know, you have to do the same thing in Stardew Valley.
Yeah, in order to do
So-
certain things, if you want to get hardwood, you have to upgrade to, I think, at least the silver level of the axe. So,
Yeah,
that's
not a game.
perfectly.
It's not a game breaker. Yeah.
No. Something that I did like about the base building aspect, though, is I noticed as you get more people, it almost feels like the game, like the gameplay seems to shift for Aska, because it starts out where it feels a lot like a survival crafting game, and then once you start to get into like the actual colony building, it is more of the management of trying to make sure everybody is on assignments and doing things in town, so that you have that kind of changeover. And I think it came at a good time too, because I was starting to get really tired of the tedium of having to collect all of the resources and
Right.
start building it. And then the second I started getting colonists, I was like, okay, well, this is handy because I need somebody to go and do that work, because I can't keep just spending all my time doing that.
Right. It takes some of the tedium out of it, which is similar in the vein where we were talking about Power World a little bit ago for the Ova game, where if I can have these other people assigned to do this thing,
Yeah,
it frees me up to go do other things that I would like to do in the game.
right.
Like, I want to go explore, but I also need tons of food to feed my guys. All right, set up a couple people to go work and collect food, and now I don't got to worry about it. I'm free to go explore.
Right.
So it gives you a little bit
Yeah.
of that automation without being like a factory game, which
So you
is
could get
which
you
is
could
nice.
you could theoretically get your base set up to where it's self-sustaining and they take care of themselves while you're like gone for like maybe an hour, however big your world is, because there is also seed generation.
The other thing that's kind of interesting about that, which would be interesting to see in the full game, because I could see some mechanics that didn't really get fleshed out, like they give you seeds, but there's no way to do farming right now, as far as I can tell in
Yeah.
the game.
At
but-
least not in the demo. Though.
Not in
Or
the
might
demo.
be in the early release version.
And
but-
I got like
Oh, yeah.
fish, but I didn't have a way of like cooking my fish, so I was like just
Yeah.
sitting here with all this raw fish in my hands, like what the hell am I supposed to do with this in the
Just
demo?
eat them sashimi
Make
style.
sashimi.
Sashimi. Yeah, I
Yeah,
tried that
see?
and I think I got sick. The point of the matter is that they have a system in Aska basically where you can say if you want to design something that's unlocked, you want to put up these borders, you want to put up more housing or something, you don't have to have the resources available. The schematics just go into a place and you can just add materials to it. So theoretically, once you get like a bunch of colonists, you could go to a place, for your colony and say, okay, I want to build a wall here, I want to have a gate here, wall around here, I want to build a farm here and do all of that. Set down the schematics, and then set people to assignments to collect all the materials and build it. Walk away, go do your adventure or whatever, come back, and they will have already taken care of all of it. Theoretically.
Theory, yeah. So, I think that's cool. It's like, all right, cool, you guys, I've planned out what you guys need to do.
Yeah.
Please do it. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Also, we forgot to mention that this game is also multiplayer, up to 3 other players.
Yes.
It says
It's
also
their
similar
Steam
to
page
Valheim.
says solo, or together with up to 3 friends.
Yeah.
Valheim, you can have more than 3 with, I think, a mod.
Yeah. For this, you might end up being able to do more with a mod too, but out of the gate, it definitely is like you were saying, Alex. It really would love to be Valheim, but it does have a few interesting mechanics of its own.
I think I liked it more than Valheim. I did get Valheim not that long ago, and I just wasn't as into it.
Yeah.
But this one, I was like, oh, okay, no, it's adding some of these things that I actually think I like. So I might
does have some
wait a
interesting
little bit,
mechanics.
and then I know it's an early release right now, but I might wait a little bit and then actually pick it up. So
Well, that's good. The game that I was going to talk about was not actually like my favorite game from Next Fest. That would either be Flintlock or Blacksmith Master. But those are not very interesting to talk about, honestly, because Blacksmith Master is very similar to Tavern Master, just with blacksmithing, and Flintlock is kind of like a Souls-light game, where you get to fire pistols and stuff, which is cool, but I don't really have much that I really can discuss about it. The one I wanted to talk to you about today was the most unique game out of all of them, and it was called Goblin Cleanup. I'm trying to think how I describe this game. You imagine that in a classic fantasy setting, there are dungeons, and you have heroes that go to, like, storm the dungeon, take out the enemies, they run through all of the traps and everything so that they can get the loot, and then leave, or die in the dungeon. This game begs the question, okay, but between the different heroes running through this dungeon, what happens? How does the dungeon get back into the shape that it previously was before the hero ran through it? And Goblin Cleanup says, oh, well, it's very simple. There are little goblin maids, and they run through the dungeon, and they get mops, and they mop up the blood splatter off of the floors, and they reset the traps, and they relight the torches, and they put all the furniture back in place, and they take the treasure, and they throw it back into the treasure chest. They put it all back together, noting that it's still a dungeon while you're doing it, and the dungeon can still kill you while you're trying to reset the whole thing. And then you have to respawn and do it again.
Then you have to clean up your own mess.
Then you, leave a blood splatter, and you have to clean up the blood splatter where you were before you get resurrected. And
that's really interesting.
Yeah. That's
a really interesting concept for a game.
It is, and it's a very nice graphic art style, which is kind of cartoony. I guess maybe closer to, the newer Dungeon Quest kind of games, almost the cel-shaded art style. It's got some really interesting ideas to it. There are mimic chests in this. If you stand in front of the mimic chest will just eat you. But you can go around the back of the mimic chest, pick the mimic chest up, and then you can use the mimic chest to clean up all of the chunks of meat in the dungeon by having it eat all of them. When you want to clean up blood splatter, because they actually did, it feels like they actually thought this through. You don't just get a mop to clean up the blood splatter. No. That would be too simple. There are little machines that let you release little slimes. You take a pitchfork and you put the slime on the pitchfork that has a little face on it, and you use that to clean up the blood splatter. And when it gets fully loaded up with blood, the slime's eyes go cross-eyed and it's dead. And now you got to get another slime so that you can clean up the next blood that's on the floor. While you're going through this thing and holding onto the furniture and stuff, but there's swinging blades and there's traps that are set up for ballistas. and you might need to reset the ballista, but if there's already blades in, like, you could go and reset it, but then if you trip the wire where the ballista is, the ballista come down and shoot you in the back of the back, and then when you come back, you have to go and reset the ballista things onto it.
Right. So, I saw this game, and
Yeah.
I was like, it just kind of looks like a Viscera cleanup detail.
It's
like,
kind of
game.
like that, but a fantasy version of that.
But if it had pegged itself as a, hey, we're a dungeon cleanup game where you're cleaning up the dungeon, but also it's part puzzle and problem solving,
Because it is, yes.
that would have been more interesting to me, and I probably would have tried it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I have Power Wash Simulator, I have Car Mechanic Simulator, I have plenty of games that are job simulators. It just involved me cleaning up messes like that, for instance.
Sure.
Even Hard Space Shipbreaker, it's a job simulator where you're cleaning up a mess and doing stuff, and they're very satisfying a lot of times. But like, if this game had gone out of its way, I feel like it didn't, to be like, hey, we're a job simulator, but with a bit extra.
Oh, yeah.
And like introduced it as like a roguelite almost. I would have been like, hold on.
Yeah.
That's neat.
This is interesting, yeah. Because there are definitely puzzle elements. There's like a laser eye trap, because I played the first level. There were more levels you could play afterward, but I was like, this is really cool. It might not be my thing, but I thought it was really cool to talk about. You put the laser eye trap on there, but then when you pass by it, the laser eye trap is going to want to laserify you. So you kind of have to keep it off of the thing and not replace it back while you're working in the room, so that you don't get killed while working in the room. There's a lot of like swinging ball traps and spike traps that come up, and so it does a good job of like making you really think out like the room and the, you know, where everything is supposed to go and how everything is supposed to be put together. I feel like I was playing it by myself. I believe that this is one of those games that you can play as like co-op up to like 4 players, I think.
Perfect, because I can then grab a mimic chest and have it.
Yeah, and I feel like the co-op is where it's really going to like take off, if it ever does, because you're gonna see a lot of people on stream with their friends running around and causing chaos in this dungeon with each other, and that's probably going to be the point where everybody's like, oh god, I gotta pick up this game so I can play it with my game group. It does feel like it is made for that, where there's different like wings of the building, and some of the elements are scattered throughout that you might have to play around with, but you could see like one player working over here and one player working over here, and oh, do you have this chest or do you have this table that I need, because I don't have it in my room. Sure, I'll toss it over there.
Almost even enjoy if they leaned into that for certain maps they did.
Sure.
Where it required multiple players in order to, like, you'd have to say they're specifically multiplayer and can't be done solo, for instance, but like, maybe this requires at least 2 people to be able to get past a certain, like, a door lock or something. It's like you have to go to the other side to unlock it, but like this person's has to get over there, and you have to have like 2 keys kind of deal, or just like something that requires multiple people doing it so that it, again, could really shine in that. It's like, all right, almost like Portal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Then they would have to have increased difficulties to recognize that there's multiple players in the lobby. Because if you're just playing by yourself, you can't have those mechanics.
Well, no, that's why I said you
mechanics. But if it detects a second player,
that is why I said you would have to say these maps are multiplayer.
Or need a certain number.
Even some of the same maps too, but increased difficulty for multiple players.
Oh, sure. Because they do score you. You can kind of leave the map whenever you want and finish up. But they basically give you a checklist of like 7 items, I think, in the first one, of like, did you clean up all the blood splatters? Did you reset all the furniture? Did you do all those? And depending on how you do, you get better scores, and your score ultimately is how you unlock more maps that you can play through. And so I was able to get like 5 out of the 7. For some reason, there were several blood splatters. I don't know where they were. I was looking for them everywhere. I could not figure out where they were. I got to, I put everything back, and I think I relit all of the torches. There were just a couple of them where it's like, I have no clue. I don't know where this last element is. And, but then it unlocks some other ones, and they are tiered in different difficulties, and it does look like there's also different dungeons that you eventually go in, or different castles that you go in. You have, a basic one, and then it sounds like there's, a sunken temple one that you go to, and I think that there's an ice castle that you go to at some point. And it looked like, from when I saw little intro videos and stuff, that there might be points where heroes are trying to run through the dungeon while you're trying to reset everything, or that there are monsters that you're supposed to, wrangle into the world, or that are supposed to be in that world. And so those are kind of cool mechanics to set up in this thing that is ostensibly a cleaning sim, but with a dungeon around it, where that can kill you. So I thought that... But I really, the reason I wanted to talk about it is that, while not necessarily the best game that I played, it is definitely the one that I have not seen anything really like before. I don't think I've ever played anything quite like Goblin Cleanup, or even had the thought process in my head of making something like this. That was just, so crazy to me to make this game in the first place.
I mean, even when I think about it, it makes me wonder if anybody ever ran, a D&D campaign where it's like this.
Where you're the dungeon cleanup service? Imagine your
adventurer is stumbling onto a dungeon and it's actually in the middle of being cleaned.
Oh, I kind of like the idea of having a D&D campaign where you run a cleaning service and your heroes have to go into a dungeon and clean up.
I hope you two have that as a topic for a future video, because this just sounds interesting. I checked out the Steam page while you were explaining it to us.
Sure.
Yeah, it does. It does look really cute.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily a me type of game, but it's definitely probably something I'd definitely check the demo out to see what hilarity do.
Right.
Because I could also see it if you're doing multiplayer. Somebody just being the troll in your group and be like,
"Oh yeah,
I want to move this mimic over here and clean it up," and I accidentally killed you with a mimic.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, just put the mimic facing straight out into the hallway so nobody can come into your area. That would be
strategically put it right around the corner, so if someone turns, they don't even see it until the last second.
Yeah, you can see that totally being the thing that is utterly memeable online for all of the
competitive dungeon cleanup.
Competitive dungeon cleanup.
Which one of you can clean up your wing first? Oh, also you can sabotage each other.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fine idea. But yeah, I was struck really from the get-go from the level of production value that it had, because it does have a really well-designed art style with very nice modeling and everything. And the interface is really easy to understand and work with. It looks like they actually tried with this game, which is not something I can say about every demo I played. And so
when you were playing this demo, was there anything bugs that you found, or anything you felt that was janky?
No.
In this gameplay, or it was just smooth?
Honestly, no. I thought that it played really smooth. I don't think I encountered any kind of glitches or bugs while I was playing. I can't think of a single time. So yeah, pretty well polished overall. I think that its biggest hurdle is really that it's such an odd concept that I think some people might just not be into it, because it's not like other things that they've played, and it might be hard for people to sell it, because like Alex was saying, you looked at it and you thought it was one thing, and it would take really describing it better to get to its target audience, which I think is out there. But yeah, Goblin Cleanup, the most unique one that I played, because a lot of them were like, oh yeah, this is a survival crafting game. Oh yeah, this is a Souls-like. Oh yeah, this is
Oh, this is.
I mean, I could see this being marketed to the Power Wash Simulator crowd.
That would be the kind of crowd that I'd want to market it to.
Or even the Lethal Company type crowd.
Yeah, actually, they'd probably enjoy it too. It's more casual than that. It definitely is supposed to be a little bit more chill. There's nothing stalking you, as far as I can tell, or anything like that. But I could see people that like to play that as, like, a 4-player or something. They'd probably get a kick out of this if they got to pick it up. Last question for everybody was, like, just overall impression for Next Fest Summer 2024. What did you think?
It was Next Fest 2024.
It was the Next Fest that was. Yeah.
It was not bad. There was some good gems this time around. I believe there's one more Next Fest. It's supposed to be later this year. I don't know when, though.
My question that I would pass on to everybody out there is just if you played something really interesting or unique at Next Fest that you're not hearing people talk about, please let me know in the comments down below, because we're always interested in the ones that kind of fell through the cracks, those hidden gems that were out there that no one got around to talking about.